Good day. Hello, welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here on this beautiful day. Look, the Jaybefaunt channel is available on all major podcast platforms, so go ahead and subscribe to me there. Also part of the Revolutionary Blackout Network, so you can see me on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Also, while you're at it, if you guys would like to, you guys can also go to my Substack to get email notifications at jaybefaunt.substack.com, so you guys can be alerted to every single time every single time a clip or a live stream is up, so that you guys are notified just like this one. So thank you so very much to everyone who's already subscribed to there. Also, if you guys would like to support the channel, then you guys can also go to my Patreon or my Coffee. Yes, I do have a Patreon and Coffee if you guys would like to support the channel. My Patreon actually gets a little bit more look through and a little bit more support through there. So if you are more comfortable going there, you can do that. Or you can also become a member and sign up for YouTube memberships. If you guys would like to, you guys can go there as well. And in addition to, if you guys would like to, you guys can also go to my Patreon page and you guys can look at all the different levels that I have as well. That's also really important. If you guys would like to, then you guys can do that too. If you guys would like, you guys can see all the different levels here. We have Solidarity, Comrade, Jaybefaunters, Super Jaybefaunters, and Super Duper Jaybefaunters. So thank you so very much as well. And also, in addition to, and furthermore, just to let you guys know, what will we be doing today? Well, we will be doing the reading of Laziness Does Not Exist by Dr. Devon Price. We're focusing on Chapter 4, Part 1. This was a great reading. They're all great readings, but the Chapter 4, the title is interesting. It says, "Your achievements are not your worth." This is deeply interesting, and it really reflects upon your sense of self-worth is not necessarily tied to your production value. And I think that this is something that a lot of us really need to get into through our heads, because the laziness lie that capitalism puts us through makes it seem like that in order for us to have any type of self-worth, we have to produce over and over and over. So I think this is something that we need to really come to terms with and also kind of expel out of our minds, so that we realize that we are worth more than what we produce, right? So that's one of the things that I actually wanted to impart to you guys. And we're going to get into this chapter. We're going to do our discussion. If you guys have not, please make sure to like the stream if you like it already. If you guys want to wait until the end, go ahead and like the stream later. Or if you guys just don't like me and want to dislike the stream, it's cool, whatever. Thank you anyway for watching. All right. So it says, "Your achievements are not your worth." I have my tea ready. It's good. Not too bright outside, just rain. But let's get into it. In 1973, the investment banker and writer Andrew Tobias published his memoir, "The Best Little Boy in the World." In it, Tobias describes himself as a closeted gay professional in the 1960s and 70s, struggling to build a successful life while hiding who he was. Tobias had known since he was a preteen that he was gay. Like many queer people of that era, he was deeply ashamed of it. In the book, he describes how he tried to make up for his gayness by being perfect, most lovable, most accomplished young man he could be. He excelled in athletics, winning trophies and ribbons. He studied all week long, devoting energy that he could have gone toward dating and earning excellent grades. He was dutiful, clean-cut, polite son who honored his parents. Boy, I know about that. Once he became an adult with a job, Tobias put his best little boy in the world energy towards pulling all-nighters at the office and turning in work days ahead of time, even when doing so was completely unnecessary. He describes one incident when his manager asked him on Wednesday night to write him a memo by Tuesday of the next week. Ha! Tobias writes, I could stay at the office most of the night writing the memo, typing it, Xeroxing it, binding it, and there it would be on his desk when he got in Thursday morning. That was as close as I came to a sexual experience. Damn. My God, that's sad. Oh boy. Tobias was rightfully terrified society would reject him for being gay. So he coped with that fear by striving to be accomplished and hardworking. No matter our orientation or status in society, we've all been pressured to win respect by racking up accolades in this way. The laziness lie tries to tell us that we must earn our right to be loved or even have a place in society by putting our noses to the grindstone and doing a ton of hard work. The lie also implies that our intuition cannot be trusted. Our cravings for rest must be ignored. Our urges for pleasure, tenderness, and love must be written off as signs of weakness. Tobias believed the lie, so he tried to hide his true self behind a wall of awards. I'm living in a world that's very different from the one Tobias grew up in. Still, I see myself and many of my friends reflected in his desperation to please and overachieve. A lot of queer people still feel an immense pressure to be the best little person in the world. We accumulate achievements and accomplishments in the hopes that they will help us earn back the respect and love we lost by choosing to live openly as ourselves. We feel insecure about living on the fringes of society and recognize that what acceptance we do receive could be taken away at any moment. And so we work as hard as we possibly can to protect ourselves. We take second jobs, pull long hours, get reports in early, and take on responsibilities that exhaust us, wanting to believe that our trophies, savings accounts, and satisfied managers will protect us from ignorance. This damn. I'm telling you right now, that's wild. But you know what? That's true. We try to be overachievers just so that we don't get the vitriol for being our true selves or for revealing our true selves. It's crazy. And that's how our production is tied to our self-worth. Of course, it's not just queer people who try to self-protect through overachievement. Anyone who feels vulnerable in society can succumb to the pressure to live this way. Women and people of color are often told they must go above and beyond the expectations set for white men if they want to have a prayer of success. People who grew up in poverty or who struggle with mental illness often feel similarly obligated to overachieve. Anyone who has been told repeatedly that they're not enough may be tempted by the laziness lie to strive endlessly for accomplishments and rewards. Our culture teaches us that if we achieve greatness, we may finally deserve to feel safe and at ease. Woo! And this is something that a lot of us Black people feel. If you're Black and you're watching this, you realize in your mind that in order for you to have some semblance of security, you have to be the best. Even though cisgender men who are straight and white, they have mediocrity, there's a comfort there that they can have. We cannot pursue mediocrity. We cannot sit in the realm of mediocrity, because if we do, we're going to fail in life. We have to be extraordinary, right? when it comes to how we perform in life compared to everybody else. Because if we're not extraordinary, we can't live an ordinary life. Damn, this book. Whew. Let's continue. A more contemporary and straight example of this phenomenon is the character Leslie Knope on NBC's Parks and Recreation. Many millennials adore Leslie's character, and it's easy to see why. She's chipper and upbeat, with an unending yen for political conquest. She overcomes government bureaucracy, partisan infighting, her co-workers' bigotry and sexism through sheer determination and optimism. At the start of the series, Knope has a lowly position as the deputy director for her small city's Parks and Recreation department. But as the series progresses, she ascends through the state government, eventually becoming governor of Indiana. She's relentless in her pursuit of success, winning countless political battles along the way. Fans love Parks and Rec because it portrays a hardworking progressive woman winning at life despite facing immense opposition. Yet, I've always found the show's inspiring message to be kind of hollow. Leslie is likable, spunky character, but she's also really pushy and single-minded. She cares a great deal about the environment, justice, and what's right, but to her close friends, she can be rude and steamrolling. She often pushes people to help her accomplish her goals, ignoring their needs and priorities along the way. She doesn't take no for an answer and often forces her husband and best friend to invest time in her schemes, even when they don't want to. She works herself to illness and even breaks out of the hospital when she's sick with the flu so that she can continue going to her job. While on the show, and its fans celebrate Leslie for being a feminist icon, part of me sees her as a spokesperson for the laziest lie. She accomplishes great things, yes, but she does so by disrespecting her body's needs and ignoring the boundaries of her friends. Sadly, the show constantly rewards her for this success-obsessed behavior. There's never a moment when she has to learn to take things easy, or when she develops an interest in activities outside of work. I've never really seen the show before. Maybe I should give it a watch. The show even goes out of its way to mock Leslie's husband, Ben, for getting into stop-motion animation when he's briefly unemployed. Ben's stop-motion films are amateurish. They're never going to win him any awards or help him secure a new job. So in the eyes of the show and its characters, his interest is, and it's kind of pathetic. The mild depression he develops as a consequence of being unemployed is ridiculed too. The show constantly implies that a life of hard work and achievement is superior in every way to a life that grows at a slower pace. Unfortunately, a lot of us still believe that's true in real life as well. That is true. A lot of us will look at somebody who has a more slower, chill life and will be like, yeah, that's not accomplishment. That's not an achievement. But is it, could we be wrong? It kind of reminds me of this allegory where it was taught to me where you'll have a man and he will have sheep in a farm and he'll be laying, against a tree, I guess playing a ukulele or guitar or something like that. I'm messing up the example a little bit, but I'm paraphrasing. But then some business owner or some entrepreneur comes and goes, hey, look, you have a farm here, you have sheep here. Why don't you grow the business, get a couple of farms, and then you can increase the amount of wealth you have so that you can live a better life. And then the guy goes, well, why would I want to do that? He said, so then, you can grow and have more workers, and then you can actually have two farms, and then you can have more sheep, and then you can grow your business even more. And he's like, and then what? And then you can have four, you can double it, you can triple it, and then have even more. And the guy keeps going, and then what? And then the gentleman goes, well, then so you can chill, under a tree and play your ukulele with your sheep at the end of your life. And the guy goes, well, I'm already doing that now. Why would I want to change it? So it's almost like that feeling in your mind of, oh, I have to be productive in order to have worth, when in reality, we really don't. That's the capitalist and laziness lie. On one level, being obsessed with achievement is entirely logical, particularly if you're on society's margins in some way. Being an overachiever can provide you with a buffer when things get rough. When I was growing up, my dad always had a side hustle in addition to his main full-time job. As I mentioned in the book's introduction, he had a physical disability and felt immense shame over it, so he hid it from his employer. Even though he thought that if other people knew about his condition, they would reject him and see him as unfit to work. So he struggled to make up for his disability by being the hardest working, busiest employee he could be. In addition to working third shift in the warehouse, he mowed lawns during the day, making extra cash. I worked 2 entire years without ever having a day off because, number one, I didn't want to be seen as lazy as a dialysis patient. But number two, because ultimately I couldn't afford it by just through disability benefits alone. I actually tried to make as much as I possibly could so that I would be able to live, because disability benefits are not enough. He was following the footsteps of his dad, who had worked in a salt mine by day and fixed neighbors' cars in the evenings for extra money. The laziness lie romanticizes stories like these of hardworking men toiling away despite all the difficulties they faced. But I saw firsthand what my dad's life was like, and my grandfather's, often desperate, lonesome, and filled pain. Hard work didn't buy either of them safety the way they dreamed it would. Both men were in horrible health all their lives, and both died in their 50s. See what I mean? And I made a video talking about that that type of adversity porn that, a lot of times people say, like, you'll have a mom that'll be working at McDonald's with her baby on her hip because she couldn't afford a babysitter or to put her child into childcare, so she has to bring her child to work, and people will go, yes, queen, yes, you can do it, when in reality she shouldn't have had to do that in the first place. But our society is so sick, our system is so sick, our system is so not corrupt, it's so horrible that she has to do that, when in reality she shouldn't have had to in the first place. Rachel is a teacher and transgender woman. Before she came out and started transitioning that work, she spent years earning teaching rewards, racking up accolades, and taking on tons of hours of responsibilities at her school. She knew she would need to fall back on her reputation as a hard worker when she finally started living as a woman. The second she came out, she was going to face a lot of bigotry disguised as scrutiny. As soon as I started coming to work as myself in feminine clothing, she says, people started accusing me of being unprofessional and impossible to work with, and they were so cold to me. It was night and day difference. As complaints began to roll in from intolerant parents and colleagues, Rachel had to point to her awards and sparkling performance reviews in order to protect herself. Her track record proved that she wasn't the difficult, inappropriate person some were now claiming her to be. The adoration of her current and former students also helped buffer her against some of the criticism she started receiving. If Rachel hadn't been the best little girl in the world at her job, she would have wound up getting canned just for being herself. I've heard many people of color express a similar outlook on overwork. Many Black parents teach their children, that they must work twice as hard as white people, with the expectation that doing so will get them only half as far. This is something that's true. We always feel that we have to do twice or three times the work, and then we only get half as far. That's what it's like being Black in this system. If you're marginalized, you can't just be good. You have to be the best. But that striving for excellence comes with a hefty emotional toll. Constantly having to put on a performance of being diligent, motivated, and well-behaved can leave people feeling like their lives are inauthentic and don't reflect who they truly are. That's the Black experience. She gets it. The laziness lie affects many of us who are Black and brown in this country. It affects us deeply. What are we told constantly as Black people? We're lazy, right? We don't work hard. All we do is depend on the government. We're always told that. It's stuck onto us just by the color of our skin. So we have to do extra. This is why that rise and grind mindset is deep in Black culture, because we don't want to be seen as lazy. Achievements are fleeting things. They can never bring us true satisfaction. As soon as you cross the finish line and collected the trophy, the joy of running the race is over. There is no victory great enough to overcome the dictates of the laziness lie. In fact, the laziness lie tells us that we must never be satisfied. We must keep running after new opportunities again and again, no matter how many victories lie behind us. In this way, being achievement obsessed actually makes life less rewarding and enjoyable, because we never get to truly savor or appreciate what we've done or where we've been. And a lot of times we will look at ourselves and we'll go, man, I got so far to go. But we never look in the rearview mirror to see how far we've come. We never do. Because you're constantly told that you're never good enough. Ever. You have to make that next plateau. Always. The thing is that it's a lie. Living your life is not about making a series of achievements. Living your life is about living your life. When people say, or ask rather, what is the purpose of life? The purpose of life is to live it. That's it. That's it. I'm trying to find my purpose. You're already in it. You're already in your purpose. Living. Try to make it as good as possible. Achievement hunting can also make us competitive to a fault, seeing other people only as barriers to our next big success. Like Leslie Knope, We can become so intent on winning that we forget to take care of our friends and or ourselves. We can even see the success of our loved ones as threats, signs that they are more hardworking and lovable than we are. Our fear of being lazy can swallow up every source of pride and delight in our lives. If we let it, there's nothing left. The more we adopt an accomplishment-based mindset, the more we come to catalog, measure, and judge every single thing we do. Unfortunately, the digital age has done a lot to facilitate this obsession. Today, we can easily monitor how much success we get, how many likes our Instagram posts receive, how many books we read this year, and how our performance compares to that of our friends. Every enjoyable use of our free time, whether it be cooking, crafting, or travel, can be documented, shared, and assessed relative to other people. The laziness lie has infected so much more than our careers. It has taught us that to chase the accomplishment in every imaginable realm, even those meant to be relaxing and non-productive. In the process, it has sapped the joy and leisure out of even the most pleasant and nourishing activities. Right? Constantly comparing. I have to get out of this mindset too, because I'm looking at other people's channels, right? I'm looking at other channels and I'm just like, man, they're that much farther than me. They're getting that many more views than I. They're getting this much more engagement. But look, here's the thing. Who am I to do that? My channel's still growing. I'm still doing all right as far as growth is concerned. I had a few more people that just subscribed to the channel. Hi, good to see you. Nice to have you. The thing is that ultimately, I'm not here to compare myself to others. I'm here to use my voice, how big or small it is, in order to contribute to people realizing that they matter and that we can have a better world. You can have nice things. I want to be part of that chorus. It's not about me being the solo artist. As long as I'm part of the chorus, even as small and as mousy my voice may be, that's what matters. Being part of the collective, being part of the collaboration, the cooperation, that's what matters. It's not an individualistic goal to make myself be the big person that society says I should desire to be. You're part of a global whole, a cosmic whole. No matter if you have a tiny little voice or you have a big, boisterous voice, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're using it. And you use it to your advantage to help others. See? Your life gamified. Taylor started learning how to code this year. They heard there was a lot of good jobs available for people who know programming languages such as Python and Java. They wanted a way to break out of their unrewarding office job. Life in the tech world sounded cushy and seemed comfortable. And they wanted a bit of that for themselves. My friend Heather is totally scatterbrained, Taylor says, but she knows how to code. She has a well-paying job and fancy free lunches at the office every day. Her workplace has a yoga room. God, I should never have majored in English. So Taylor started spending their evenings on a site called Code Academy, which offers self-paced lessons in a variety of programming languages. The Code Academy site is colorful and cheery. It's filled with short classes on a variety of programming-related topics. Each class features a mix of brief videos, interactive training modules, and online tests. Because the Code Academy site is slick and bright and stimulating. Slick, bright, and stimulating. Sorry. Taylor found it easy to return every night after work. I used to spend my evenings getting into arguments with people online. Taylor says, half joking. Now I fire up the Code Academy site and plug away at a few lessons. It makes sense that Taylor learned to replace one kind of compulsive activity, arguing online with strangers, with another, completing short quizzes online. That's because the Code Academy site is designed to be as interesting, rewarding, and as addictive as it can be. The site has a way of getting its hooks onto you and making sure you keep coming back again and again. It breaks complex topics into a series of bite-sized units. After you finish a unit, you get a little badge. The more courses you complete, and the more often you use the site, the more your reward. I sometimes use a similar site, DataCamp, in classes of mine that involve programming and statistics. My students find the site motivating because it makes learning seem like a game. The more mini classes you take, the more experience points you earn. And there are daily activities you can complete that reward you for continued practice. A student's progress is linked to their social media accounts so their friends, coworkers, and classmates can see how many achievement badges and points they racked up, and consequently, what a diligent, virtuous little worker bee they are. The foreign language learning app Duolingo operates in an incredibly similar way. There are small vocabulary and grammar exercises that you can complete each day. They take a variety of forms in order to keep you stimulated and engaged. In one exercise, you might be asked to drag and drop words together to create a sentence. In another, you're asked to speak into your phone's mic and provide the correct response to a question with the proper pronunciation. Each exercise feels and looks like a game. You get points for logging in every day. If you fail to open the app for a few days in a row, Duolingo's mascot, a cute little green owl, will send you notifications scolding you for not working hard enough. These sites and apps provide immediate gratification. They encourage habitual, regular use, just like video games do. And they scratch an itch that the laziness lie has left so many of us with: the longing to feel accomplished and worthy. By turning work into a game, they encourage us to cram more and more productive hours into our days and to feel as if every hour that we don't spend racking up little trophies and new marketable skills is a waste. In Taylor's case, learning to code quickly began swallowing up a ton of free time. It left less space in their life for other passions like painting and writing. Writing just feels stressful now, they tell me. It feels subordinate to the coding stuff. Taylor sometimes performs their writing at local business stores and coffee shops, but in recent months, they haven't had time for energy for it. They haven't been setting aside regular painting time the way they used to either. I've wondered aloud many times at this point if Taylor's code learning schedule is grueling to the point of being unhealthy. Taylor, seem, Taylor seems kind of unsure about that. They'll bring up that it's only temporary. In a couple of years, they'll have enough skills to quit their day job. Until then, they just keep plugging along, racking up skills on Code Academy site. They're trying to build a future for themselves. They're doing it the way the laziness lie taught them to, by putting their nose to the grindstone and trading free time for virtuous hard work. So many aspects of our lives have become gamified. Cooking blogs and YouTube channels have changed food preparation into performance. Twitter can make sharing, or X, can make sharing jokes with your friends feel like a graded comedy class. Sites like Pinterest and Instagram have even turned craft making competitive. I really love watching videos of people mixing glitter, paint, and food coloring into clear glue-based putties and slimes. Something about watching people swirl bright colors and sequins into clear goop is just endlessly soothing to me. Yet, the online community devoted to these craft videos they call themselves Slimers, is filled with backbiting, drama, and wrath. Popular accounts constantly fight with one another over who deserves credit for inventing new slime formula or who was the first to film their videos in a particular style. What was meant to be a soothing, kind of silly activity has somehow transformed into a contentious, status-obsessed one. This is just like being on political independent media on Twitter. I'm going to tell you right now, it's true, because there is backbiting, right? Drama and wrath sometimes. It's true. It's even within our space, it happens. There are people who get jealous of one another just because somebody has a new achievement of subs. This happens. And some of us have to keep our nose to the grindstone when it comes to our channels because, we feel ourselves at competition with one another. When in reality, especially those of us who are anti-capitalist, the focus needs to be less on competition and more on cooperation and collaboration in order to get the message out. But some of us still have that laziness lie in here, and it still ticks at us, and we still have to compete. Some of us, it's about the money. It becomes less about the money. It becomes more about the money and less about the message. Some of us have to look inward and realize it's the message that matters more than anything else. It's the class consciousness and solidarity. This gamification has transferred to how we monitor our wellness too. Our exercise habits are tracked by our phones and watches and shared with all of our friends. At any given time, I can open up the Fitbit app and see who's in my life is on the leaderboard of physical activity, who has racked up the most steps. I can use that information to motivate myself to be more active, or I can use another person's achievement as a reason to belittle myself. Even if you're a relatively passive user of social media, you've probably felt the pull towards gamification in your life. Facebook and Instagram have tailored their algorithms in order to reward regular compulsive use of their platforms and to isolate and silence everyone who isn't a power user with a good sense of how to game the numbers. It's widely observed, for example, that if you don't open Facebook multiple times per day, the site seems to punish you by hiding your posts from many people on your friends list. Sometimes these apps won't immediately tell you about likes or comments that you receive until you've been active enough user that day to have earned the right to be told about them. The only way to get a ton of likes or follows on these platforms is to spend hours on them, liking other people's posts, leaving comments, and boosting engagement. The more you use these sites, the more popular you feel. Both Facebook and Instagram have started dabbling with hiding how many likes an other person's posts have. Individual users, however, can still see their own likes and follower counts and can still measure their successes in terms of how many responses they get. In these ways, even the basic act of staying connected with other people has become a craved, achievement-obsessed process. People are constantly vying for attention, likes, followers, and clout. It saps the joy out of almost everything. Boy, I'm telling you. How achievement hunting ruins experiences. Dr. Fred Bryant is a researcher in the field of positive psychology, the science of optimism, happiness, and what helps them to thrive. He spent more than 40 years studying what a meaningful life looks like, topics he understands on a very intuitive and personal level. Fred is just as cheery and sunny as you might expect a positive psychologist to be. He never stops grinning, and every word he utters sounds reflective and filled with wonder. So much of psychology is focused on treating negative symptoms, Fred says, like depression or anxiety. We act as though the opposite of being depressed is simply not being depressed. But that's not true. We can do more than just be not depressed. We can study what makes a person truly happy, what makes a person feel their life is beautiful, that has meaning. We can maximize the good things, not just downplay the bad. In Fred's work, finding joy and meaning all comes down to savoring. Savoring is the process of deeply and presently enjoying a positive experience. It occurs at 3 time points. First, when anticipating an upcoming event with excitement and optimism. Then, when fully experiencing the positive moment as it is happening. And finally, when looking back on the experience with a sense of reverence or gratitude after it's over. When a person savors, they relish the things they love and devote their full attention to experiencing them in a mindful, appreciative way. You can savor anything you find pleasant, whether it's a picturesque hike on a nature reserve, a cold, refreshing cocktail, or an especially challenging crossword puzzle. All you have to do is approach it with slow, mindful gratitude, rather than seeing it as an item on a to-do list that you have to check off. You can't be distracted and savor something. I'm going to repeat myself. You can't be distracted and savor something, Fred explains. I could be eating the most delicious piece of pizza in the world. Let's say a really amazing slice of Chicago deep dish. Shout out to Chicago. Heartland's Media, I see you. But if I'm grading my students' homework while I'm eating it, I might completely forget to appreciate how wonderful the pizza is. All of a sudden, I might look up and say, hey, where did the pizza go? What? It's gone? Well, I guess I enjoyed it. I ate it all really fast, but I don't even remember what eating it felt like. Fred tells me that a skilled savorer would not distract themselves from the pizza in his example. They would eat it languidly, planning out each bite, maybe even saving the very best bite for last, so they have something to look forward to all the way to the end. I do that. Research by Fred and his colleagues has shown that savoring has many benefits. When a person engages in savoring, time seems to slow down. The details of the moment become lush and vivid. Happy moments feel happier when they're savored, and that happiness lasts longer after the experience is over. Savorers also know how to look back on positive experiences and live them over again, which allows them to boost their happiness even when life isn't going so well. Perhaps as a result, frequent savorers often have much higher levels of life satisfaction and more positive moods compared to people who don't savor very much. Frequent savorers experience less depression. They cope with issues such as aging and declining health far better than non-savorers. People suffering from chronic pain, heart disease, and cancer experience better long-term health outcomes if they know how to savor the good things in life. And they find their illnesses less depressing and stressful as well. Since happiness generally increases a person's odds of being healthy, savoring can play a role in extending one's lifespan and warding off illness. The best thing about savoring is that anyone can learn how to do it. Fred and his colleagues have consistently found that it's a skill that can be learned. There are mental strategies a person can practice in order to boost their savoring ability, just as there are negative, happiness-crushing strategies that a person can learn to avoid. Ultimately, in a world beholden to the laziness lie, those negative thought patterns are far more common. The opposite of savoring is dampening. Dampening occurs when we suck the life out of a positive experience by distracting ourselves from it, worrying about the future, or focusing on small imperfections that we ought to just ignore. Think of Debbie Downer from the famous Saturday Night Live sketch. Remember the one? You remember that? It will crack me up, especially that one where they were at Disney World. Oh my gosh, that was so funny. But yeah, Debbie Downer, who ruins a birthday party by talking about the natural disasters and lecturing everyone about how unhealthy birthday cake is. Debbie is a master at dampening a good mood because she knows how to draw attention away from mildly savoring the things that make people happy. And she's far from the only one who's impulsively negative in that way. Research has uncovered 4 mental habits that tend to dampen a person's happiness and make them more miserable. These 4 habits strongly encouraged by the laziness lie. You have suppression, distraction, fault finding, negative mental time travel. And then suppression is hiding or suppressing positive feelings due to shyness, modesty, or fear. Distraction corresponds to ignoring the joy of the moment and concerning yourself with other things. Fault finding is disregarding the positive side of an experience and focusing on what's lacking or could be better. And in negative mental time travel says anticipating negative events that could happen in the future, reminiscing about painful experiences in the past. And there's actually the chart here so you guys can see. Pause to read. Okay. All right. Consider for a moment that the many ways in which the laziness lie teaches us to dampen our happiness by discouraging us from showing any signs of weakness or vulnerability. The laziness lie teaches us to engage in suppression, the hiding signs of happiness in order to appear serious or mature. The laziness lie also loves keeping us distracted. As overachieving workaholics, we're all expected to multitask all day long, never taking a moment to fully luxuriate in a good meal, a golden sunset, or a leisurely walk around the block. Because the laziness lie encourages perfectionism, it makes many of us into expert fault finders as well. We set unrealistically high standards of productivity and quality for ourselves, and then pick ourselves apart for coming up short. Finally, the laziness lie trains us all to be negative mental time travelers, forever fearing the future and planning for worst case scenarios, refusing to appreciate what we have because we're so anxious about what comes next. This is what our cultural obsession with achievement hunting has done to us. Even something that ought to be pleasurable, like taking a vacation or winning an award, becomes a new obligation to measure, document, and share with the world via social media. How many people honestly are like this with their phones? And they're not really focused on the actual experience. They're really just trying to record it. That's why sometimes it's like, put the phone down. If somebody wants to see it, they can watch it on YouTube, right? This is what our natural obsession with achievement hunting has done to us. Even something that ought to be pleasurable, like Once the experience is over, the laziness lie expects us to forget about it and speed ahead to the next credential, the next Instagrammable moment, the next big way to make productive use of our time. This keeps us from ever living in the moment or taking genuine pride in the things we've done. My partner, Nick, once had a coworker who was a stand-up comedian. The guy was absolutely obsessed with how well his jokes did on social media. Every morning, he'd post a new joke to Facebook and Twitter, then compulsively check his notifications for an hour to see how well the joke has done. His only benchmark for whether a joke was any good was if it got 100 likes within the first hour. If it didn't hit that mark, it was a failure. The guy didn't seem to ask himself if he actually liked the joke he was posting or to view writing them as a creative craft it was. He couldn't take any pride or enjoyment in what he was doing. All he had was a goal to obsess over, an achievement that he had to hit every day. Research shows that when we're stressed and caught up in routines, we experience time as moving more quickly. Weeks, months, or even years can all blend together in a haze of anxiety and obligation, and we may be left with very few unique, cherished memories to look back on. You can't savor your life or even remember it in much detail if your existence is nothing but a series of obligations you have to joyously meet. Thankfully, there are steps we can take to break out of our overachieving patterns. We'll stop there. The next subheading after this is how to reframe your life's value. And I can't wait to get into that when we come back next time. By the way, that will start on page 118. Interesting, very deep. And so this is something that we also have to remember, that our achievements don't make us who we are. We make our achievements. And so just keep that in mind, because the thing is that we have a world that's designed for making you seem like you're better just by through achievements. And the real reality is that you have value just by being. Keep that in mind, okay? Do not dismiss your value based on production. That's what capitalism wants you to do. And the thing is that it happens from the moment we're in elementary school all the way to the point where we die. It starts there. So just make sure to value yourself more. And once you start to value yourself and start to think beyond your achievements and your production, you start to also view that in other people too. And you start to think of them and respect them beyond their achievements and beyond their production value. Because ultimately, we're all more than what we produce. So yeah. So thank you so very much. And if you guys haven't liked the stream, please make sure to give me a like. And if you guys have not already, then please make sure to also subscribe to my Substack. Go to jaybefaunt.substack.com so you guys can get those email notifications for whenever I go live or upload clips. And thank you so much to all the patrons on Patreon, Coffee, as well as anybody who sends me any type of mutual aid, anybody who is also a member of the channel as well, and anybody who sends me anything from Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal. Thank you so very much. It is much appreciated. I would like to thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to end this with a great video that is about reading, because look, I always say this, reading is fundamental. And I think that this is beautiful because this shows how we need to come together as a community. And this shows the importance of libraries. And libraries are amazing, beautiful places that are paid for through public dollars in order to make it so that we can actually have a community and center around books. So this guy, beautiful spirit, let's go.
There's this kid looking for books in the Spanish section. Finally finds a book, runs over to our grown-up who's working on their laptop and says, "Dad, I found a book. Can you please help me read it?" The dad looks at the book and goes, "I'm really sorry, buddy. I don't know any Spanish, but if you give me just a couple more minutes, I promise we'll find a book together." Kid runs back over to the Spanish section, and as they do, another kid runs up and goes, "I think I know Spanish. Can I help you read this book?" Both kids walk over to our little tiny couch, start reading the book. The other kid's grown up goes up to the dad and goes, "I'm really sorry. My kid doesn't know a single word of Spanish. They just really like people. I'm so sorry. Dad starts laughing. The grown-ups engage in conversation. Both kids are over there reading slash not really reading the Spanish book. Another kid who's been watching the whole time, appears to be slightly older than the other two kids, goes over to them and says, "Hi, I know Spanish. Can we all read the book together?" The two kids scoot over, the third kid sits down, and then that kid who knows Spanish starts reading the book to the other two little kids. After a few minutes, they finish the book. They all go their separate ways. The kid who knew Spanish goes up there, grown up, and says, "Grandma, did you see me?" The grandma puts their arm around the kid, and they're both just smiling, big, gigantic smiles, and they both leave the library. Um, and I love it. I am now confident that library kids are going to save the world. Yes.
And that was a timeline cleanse. I absolutely appreciate it. This guy, his name is Michael. If you guys have not, go ahead and give his YouTube, I'm sorry, his Twitter page a follow. I think this guy, he posts all things like this all the time, and he's a librarian at the local library. So at the Solano Library. So go ahead and give him a follow. Great spirit, great energy, and look, reading is fundamental, man. Do it with others. So I just want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was a beautiful reading. Look, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Smoke them if you got them, drink them if you got them. If you ain't got them, then, laugh, because joy is revolutionary and reading is fundamental. Thank you so very much. Oh, forehead kisses. Thank you for reading along with me or listening along with me, whichever you chose to do. And I love you for watching and reading. Take care, guys. Have a great day.